Section 2, approval to purchase Gateway Hockey Club team jerseys. Mr. Lepshovich, would you like to begin, since that was your initial motion?
Yeah. I brought it up the last board meeting that I was at a hockey game, which I'm on the sport athletic committee, and I never attended a hockey game. And it was like their last game of the year, and I said, well, I better get over there. So it happened to be a Sunday evening. I went over it was in Delmont at an arena. When I was walking in, I looked up, it said Gateway Hockey team. I went inside, all across the walls it said Gateway Hockey. I'm watching the guys, they're enjoying themselves and very enthusiastic what they were doing. But then I looked up and I seen some of their jerseys that were, and I'm thinking to myself, they're representing Gateway. I did not like the way they were looking because their shirts were torn, tattered, stained. So I asked who was like the treasurer of the hockey committee, and the lady came over and I said, how old are these jerseys? And the person told me she'll check with me, gave me an answer, they were like 10 or 12 years old. And I understand we have other clubs in there at Gateway. If they have Gateway Gators on their backs or their front representing me as a school board member, they would say, well, we will have to do it for all the clubs. If they're in need, I can guarantee you, as long as I'm on this board, I'll find the funds or wherever to help these clubs out, or these unsponsored PIAA groups. But when they got there, they're representing me as a Gateway Gator, and I'm behind them, and I'm representing them. I will back them 100%. So that's why I made the motion to purchase new jerseys for this. I understand they get $5,000 a year from our board, but they also have about $40-some thousand in expense every year that they have to have fundraisers and all that, and it's not easy to come up with $4,800 or $5,000, whatever these jerseys are going to run, but it's going to be good for them for the next 10 years. So you break that down, it's maybe $500 a year, and I'm proud to ask this board if they would honor my request to buy these boys the new jerseys. Thank you.
I actually brought some jerseys again. Mr. Lepshovich had asked me to bring a couple at the last meeting, and nobody really looked at them, so he asked me to bring them again and show them. So I did do that. So we'll just take a minute here. And I'm going to show you guys the current jerseys that Gateway Hockey has. These are from 2008. This is a sample. As you can see, there's an old C and an old A visible where there used to be a patch. That was captain and alternate captain. Since no longer used this year for either of those purposes. Here's another sample the boys are wearing. You can see the many puck stains. This person took a lot of impact. A lot of the jerseys are like this, where they have holes in them. They have stains, and they have areas where there were patches on the sides, which are gone. The tags are gone. You can't tell what size they are anymore, but that's an example of what our Gateway Gators are wearing to represent our school.
Yeah, Mary Beth. These are decent shape compared to the 5 or 6 that I've seen that some players had on.
We have a laundry manager. Would they do anything with doing the laundry of these jerseys?
Well, currently the team does their own laundry.
Well, I'm saying the other teams that we have a laundry manager for.
Yeah.
Would she be able to take care of the jerseys?
I don't think it's necessary.
I mean, they're overdue, they can't do nothing with them.
Laundering the
I'm
jerseys.
saying for,
Laundering the jerseys isn't something they ask for. I did put together some notes, since we're talking about it, that might address some of the concerns and questions that come up about this purchase. So,
You call for a motion
Motion
first.
is
Oh, I'm
second.
Discussion.
it's not an action item.
It's not action?
No, it's not an
I'm
action
sorry.
item.
Okay.
No, this is just information for
All right, I'm
the
sorry.
next meeting. Okay. So, Gateway Hockey's been a part of Gateway since 1972. Gateway has always supported hockey one way or another, without a doubt. These boys certainly represent our school to our surrounding communities, as Mr. Lepsovich indicated. They wear our logo, they use our name, the banner hangs at the wall on Center Ice in Delmont. In fact, the name's even painted on the building at Center Ice. It is my understanding that they're not a school-sponsored sport because they're not part of the WPIAL. And they're not part of the WPIAL because they're not a PIAA sport. I'm learning a lot about all these initials and sports. So the PIAA is made up of 12 districts across the state, and to be recognized and governed by the PIAA or WPIAA, correct me if I'm wrong, athletic committee, you have to have enough hockey teams throughout the state in every single district to have competitions and playoffs that lead to state championships. So hockey's very popular in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, but there are pockets throughout the state where it is not. So that is why it is not a PIAA sport and why it is not a WPIAL sport. So that is why it is a club sport. The last time the uniforms were purchased for the hockey team was 2008. I think they got a lot of money out of the jersey. That's 10 years old. Our Gateway-sponsored teams receive new uniforms on a 4 or 5 year rotation. One argument that was brought up to George and myself was that if we do this for the hockey team, we have to do it for all the clubs. Well, hockey's not actually a club, it's a club sport. So I did check with Mr. Ravesti, and he confirmed that there is only one other club sport at Gateway, which is bowling. Lacrosse began as a club sport, and we voted to fully fund lacrosse in 2017 when I was first on the board, and I supported that. I still support that. I think it was the right thing to do. So that's one of the reasons why when I look at this purchase and I think, would I support it? Am I making the right decision by supporting this? And I look back at my vote in 2017 for lacrosse, and the answer was yes, absolutely. I supported it then, and I supported it now. I mean, I do support it now. Lacrosse started here in 2011. A few years ago, as I mentioned, it was transitioned and fully funded by Gateway. And I was just entering the board, and at that time, I remember the meeting, the lacrosse team was here, Coach Washington was here. The budget he presented to Gateway was $37,985. I still had it in my athletic folder. Gateway now pays the costs of the lacrosse head coach and 2 assistant coaches. That's at over $11,000 a year. And Gateway budgets $8,000 annually for equipment, as well as $2,500 for transportation. And all this can be found under our website, under the budget for 2016-2017, under the athletics tab. Gateway also funds our cheerleaders, and I, again, agree that we should. Cheerleading is not an official sport. However, they receive over $4,000 annually, and they are included in the uniform rotation. The annual operating budget for Gateway Hockey is about $40,000. That does not include any player equipment. The majority of that fee is ice time and PIHL referee fees. This is a shoestring budget for a hockey team. It gives our hockey team 1 practice a week to themselves and 1 shared ice time with the junior high team. Tuition for the players this year at the junior high level was $530 a year, and on top of that, they purchased inexpensive jerseys so that they could be in compliance with the rules required to have a team. Tuition for the high school team was $850. If you compare that to other schools around us, like Penn Trafford, Franklin, Norwin, students pay much more. But they have better teams and they have more practices. And frankly, many of their families can afford to pay $2,000 or more in tuition. But Gateway families cannot afford to pay a higher tuition. Thankfully, there's a strong alumni organization that does an annual golf outing and contributes approximately $3,000 annually to the Gateway hockey team. The district graciously provides $5,000 to the hockey team. All other funds come from fundraising. Keep in mind, Gateway does not pay for any transportation for the hockey team, no trainers, no laundry, And Gateway hockey team pays their own coaches' fees, and every player is required to purchase all of their own equipment, which consists of pads, helmets, pants, skates, and sticks on top of the tuition fee. A few years ago, Mike Colarusso began a developmental program trying to recruit hockey players in the Gateway School District. The developmental program had over 20 kids in it this year from K to 6th grade. And this is the first year in several years there has actually been a junior high hockey team. It had a roster of about 15 kids. The JV team started off this year not knowing if they were going to have a team. They had the bare minimum of 11, but they were able to grow that to 15 players. So there are a lot of families getting involved in Gateway hockey. I would say it is on the upswing without a doubt. Mr. Ravesti has been very supportive at announcing team games and activities at the high school and including them in the pep rally. Dr. Short has been equally supportive, and many of us are trying to get Gateway hockey back on the map, so to speak. The budgets are tight, and I think purchasing these jerseys for the kids would help the team image, the reputation, and I think it would help attract new players, not to mention the holes in the stains that you saw. So Mr. Ravesti had asked the team to provide a cost estimate for the jerseys, which is attached in the agenda. It was his recommendation that the team purchase a bit higher quality jersey than that was discussed originally, and that is so that they'll last another hopefully 6, 8, 10 years. If these jerseys are kept for 10 years, as you mentioned, George, it's actually a contribution of about $240 a year to the junior high team and to the high school team. So I'm just asking my board if you will consider next Thursday to put our kids first and get them some hockey jerseys and help support hockey and help this program to grow.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Anybody have any questions on hockey jerseys?
Just quickly, you know, the minute Mr. Lapsich brought this up, I'm on board. I want these kids to have, you know, the best equipment that we can buy them. But as we just discussed regularly, you know, our budget is currently in a deficit. I think if we want to look at adding new money on, I have no problem approving this or voting to approve this, but I want to know where we're going to whack on the budget to accommodate for it, so we're not adding to the growing deficit.
So let me see if I can reiterate what you just said. If we are generous and award this, we must be stingy by taking something else away to match it.
If we're going to have a balanced budget, yes.
If we're going to have a balanced budget. So is that what we want to do? So let's
Why don't we
make.
ask Mr. Schott? I think he's over there with an answer to that question. Is there money left over in the athletic budget, or would it come from the general fund?
We would actually take it from the athletic budget, which is a part of the general fund out of the current fiscal year. Mr. Ravesti's budget is under budget in terms of year-to-date expenditures to what's budget. And actually, as an additional item, I know Dr. Short, myself, and Mr. Ravesti will be taking a look at that under expenditure in comparison to what he's budgeted for in 18-19. So we're going to see if there's any other opportunities to take advantage of the budget being under to give us some budgetary relief for 18-19. So
That's my only concern, is just that we're not going to be piling on.
Just so the
we
public
won't be.
knows, the quote is for 30 jerseys for home and away, so a total of 60 jerseys. That's 15 for junior high, 15 for high school, and the total cost is $80 a jersey, so the quote is $4,800.
I'm in all agreement with this, but if we're gonna do it for the sports, could we also look for the bowling team? They went to states and they didn't have a Gateway gear, so I just feel what we're gonna do for one sports club, that we should do for all of them.
I'm 100% for that. If they need something in emergency, we'll find them whatever they need.
The
We
developmental
can add that to
team,
the number, Mr. Shaw.
developmental team, are they all Gateway students?
The majority are, but the developmental program will take kids from outside because they pay and they want to take players.
So we're gonna put Gateway jerseys on?
No, these
They
jerseys are
won't
not
be
for
them?
developmental.
Okay.
These jerseys are for 7th and 8th grade hockey and 9 to 12 hockey. Those are all Gateway students. At that age, they're required to be on the school team. The developmental program is just a kind of a recruiting program. They don't play games. It's more of a learn to skate, learn to play hockey.
Okay.
It's kind of a way to feed the the future
Feeder
of gateway
program.
hockey. Yeah.
And that's fine, as long as we do for one, we do for all.
Okay.
So we don't.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Val.
No problem getting bowling jerseys.
It's not a problem.
So do we need to include that with?
We'll
this
just have to get a
proposal, you
price.
think?
We'll have to figure it out, that's all.
Well, if Mr. Rivesti check with them and see, I mean, just initially off the top of my head, I'm thinking whether they would have a preference for T-shirts or polo shirts, what would be most appropriate for bowling, so.
Well, they make like the Charlie Sheen shirts, the bowling.
Well, one other question too. This is gonna dig into it too. We give hockey already 5,000. Will we also give money to the bowling team? I know they
The
want to.
bowling team gets $1,000 a year.
Right.
I don't know what their annual operating budget is though, so I think on a percentage basis, I think out of a $40,000 hockey budget, we give them 5. I can't imagine that a bowling annual operating
know they
budget is
went-
as much as lacrosse and hockey.
I know they went, well, lacrosse is a sport. I know they went to states and they paid their own busing, the bowling team, when they represented Gateway. So I just want to make sure everything is even across the board for these kids, because we paid for the girls' buses to go to basketball, the boys to go down to football state. So I think we should be, paid for the bowling states bus.
Well, I would have been fair on that. I didn't know the girls went to a bowling championship,
States.
but if they came and had a legitimate reason that they needed money to represent us in the state, I think we have common sense and we're fair here. I think we've been able to find them whatever they needed.
Sure, my niece took second at states in bowling, coached by her dad, my brother Joe, who did it as a volunteer. In 2012, the 1972 hockey team was inducted into the Hall of Fame. My brother Paul was on that team. So my heart, one more item. The hockey players wear not just jerseys that get dirty and sweaty and loaded with fungus, but they have special pieces that they put on their body and their knees and their thighs, and that the sweat gets on there as well. You can't really take some of those, put them in the washing machine, it would destroy the wash. They have special ways to clean these and keep these disease-free.
Nothing
So-
smells worse than hockey equipment.
So it's a difficult challenge.
And that might be part of the reason why they buy their own pads.
And
because
clean
they
them,
do
right.
get sweaty and smelly.
Yeah.
Okay, very well. Points taken. Thank you for your time and listening to that. Thank you, George. Thank you, Val. Where are we on the
So,
agenda?
Mr. Schott, can I reach out to you to touch base with Mr. Ovesti regarding bowling jerseys?
Oh, most certainly.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mary Beth, before we leave that, we've got the public listening in. If you have a business and you want to find a way to support some kids, get in touch with George.
Yeah, George.
No, Mr. Ovesti.
Find a way to donate, help the kids out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.